Welcome to the Standard Podcast, Series 1. I am very grateful to have my first guest to be my father, Rick, who traveled here from California to Texas to visit my wife and I and our kids. So, Pops, welcome.
Thank you, my
Welcome.
son.
And the intention of this podcast here, my father has 26 years sobriety. And he really paved the way for us and my brothers and really for my family to understand what sobriety is, to understand, what substances are taking you down and what are the pathways to get better. So again, Pops, welcome, and I'm grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
I want to dive in. Actually, it's not on these questions that I have written down here, but we brought up the word control the other night. And you mentioned to me that when you stop drinking, you gain a lot of your control back. Can you...
Yeah, when I stopped drinking, I gained control and I gained power. Not necessarily control over people or power over people, but power inside of myself to do whatever I wanted to do, I was able to do. And I could control, how I acted, how I spoke, and stuff like that.
And was that something that Mom picked up on or realized early on in your sobriety?
Probably not.
Okay.
It probably took her a while because you go through many changes when you first get sober, and it's a journey. It's not a sprint; it's a journey. So you go through a lot of changes from day one, to 26 years. You're always growing and learning. So
now I want to talk about the guy that's at his day one. You had mentioned to me the other day when I was talking to a gentleman that is on his first 30 days of not drinking. But what would you tell somebody on their day one to, I guess, give them a glimmer of hope that this journey is not walked alone? They're not alone in any of the thoughts, feelings, or actions that they've done. What would be a word of encouragement to give to somebody?
Well, over the years, I've worked with a lot of guys through Alcoholics Anonymous. And, day one, what I tell them is I tell them a little bit about my story and tell them they're not alone and I've been through what they've been through. And, obviously I tell them that I went to a meeting every day for 1 year straight with a sponsor, and I worked the steps with a sponsor, and I just take them through, what I did. Now, there's a lot of ways to get sober and stay sober. I just happened to find Alcoholics Anonymous, and it worked for me. But there's a lot of other ways to do it. I'm not saying it's the best, but it worked for me.
Got it. Now, you said something about work. What did you say? You said something about trying to catch what you had said there. Sharing your story and having that story resonate with somebody. I feel like that is probably the most important part when you're trying to connect with somebody on their sober journey, is making sure that they first understand again that they're not alone in this. Explaining our story, give them some instances. I think that will allow them to sort of be okay with where they're at, drop their ego, and open up. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. And, and everybody's story is different. Some people have to dig way down deep in the gutter, and some people don't. And it doesn't matter because, an alcoholic or a drug addict, you're an alcoholic or a drug addict. Doesn't mean that you're any better or any worse if you got arrested, you went to jail, you went to prison. You still have that state of mind. And you have to have a complete switch of state of mind in order for this thing to work. Something has to go off in your head that you're done. You're done drinking, you're done using drugs, and that's it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that. For my journey back on May 22nd of 2017, there were many instances leading up to that day where you talked to me, Dad, about going to AA. My mom would come and knock on the door first thing in the morning knowing I was drinking. But it wasn't until, I think, an act by God that day, and then for my wife to say, you need to make a change, I had to obviously dig deep within myself to make that change. So I think you're 100% right that you can only lead a horse to water. You can't force them to drink.
Right. And I think a big thing is, consequences. If no one has consequences, if you don't have money consequences, job consequences, kids, or a wife, it's very hard to get sober if you don't have consequences. My main consequence for getting sober is I didn't want to lose my wife. Being thrown out of the house a couple times, I thought that that was going to be it. I didn't want to lose my wife or my kids, so I just stopped drinking that day. And I came home, like 1 in the morning from being at a bar or a restaurant from 1 o'clock p.m. till 1 a.m. Drove home in a blackout, and that was my last drink. And then started from there. But you have to stop. First thing you have to do is stop drinking and stop doing drugs one day, and then get another day. You got to get a clear head. So.
Yeah, the power of one day at a time is something that has always resonated with me, especially from AA. For me personally, I think this is a lot of men. When you're first thinking about getting sober, the natural thoughts are, I have weddings coming up, birthdays, bachelor parties. How am I going to function? How am I going to have fun? So for me, Pops, it almost became like a new addiction of how much fun can I have in front of my friends? Again, understanding and knowing that I have full control and power over myself, my decisions. Can I drive home that night? Can I wake up first thing in the morning? So I think that power of one more or just one day at a time is massive.
Yeah.
It lowers the bar of expectation on yourself, and it doesn't put such a big...
Right. You don't say, I'm never going to drink again, or, I'm never going to drink for 25 years. You just say, I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to do drugs today. And,
I couldn't agree more with you on that. What are your thoughts on the whole dry January thing? People, they pick the month of January to go dry.
Well, anytime you take a break in drinking, it's good. We tell people that, try not drinking for 30 days. If you can make it, try 31 days. But obviously, it's good to take a break from drinking. It's good to take a break from eating ice cream, bad food. It's a good thing. But, not everybody has a drinking problem. Some people just drink a lot and they might not be alcoholic. And no one can really tell you if you're an alcoholic or not. You have to have it come from within. You have to convince yourself you're an alcoholic.
And I want to touch on that because I did a video the other day where I said your average or your typical alcoholic may not drink daily. So I believe, like a lot of families from the outside looking in at you and Mom and us as kids, what we had, the job you had, it probably didn't look like from the outside in that Mom was living with a raging alcoholic. Correct?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't drink every day. I was a periodic. I'd go away on business trips, drink there. I would drink on the weekends, a Saturday or Sunday. But it's not how often you drink. It's not how much you drink. Alcoholism is a state of mind. It's genetic. My mother was an alcoholic. So it doesn't matter what you drink, what you put in your body, what substance. An alcoholic mind is an alcoholic mind. So, yeah.
Now, it rings very true with everything that you're saying. I was going to go with this. I lost my train of thought. The consequences. So I believe, like you had said, somebody only knows deep within inside of them that they have a problem. Once those problems have consequences, that's usually when the eye-opener is there, correct?
Oh, yeah. When the wife leaves them, the kids leave them, the job fires them, that's when they really, want to stop and do something about it. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they take it to death. I've seen many people die from this disease, and they just can't get it. So, it's a rough disease.
Yeah, and that's the one part I want the viewers to understand is it may seem like fun and games right now, but there is something I believe within alcohol that the minute that it hits your lips, like I said the other day, Dad, when somebody asked me how many drinks it used to take me to get drunk, I would always say the one. It's a very slippery slope. So the guys out there that are performing, they're functioning at home, but they're still leaning on a substance, would you say that's a ticking time bomb in today's day and age?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you need to get through life without a crutch, and nowadays everybody has a crutch, whether it's smoking cigarettes, vaping, drinking, pot, it's a crutch. But we're both here to tell you that you don't need anything to get through life except your family, your faith, and God, and you don't need a substance to get through life. You really don't. All the power is within you. It really is.
Now, I think I already know this answer, but how much happier and content are you sober versus any time that you had a buzz, got drunk, or did something?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't even compare. I mean, I'm never depressed. I'm never unhappy. I just, one day at a time, I go through life and I work and I come home. I'm with my wife. I visit my family. I'm with my grandkids. It's a full life. And, I'll tell you one story. I remember that, I was first getting sober, and at 3:30 in the afternoon, I was in my bed, drunk. I couldn't get up and pick up my kid from school. Now, that's pretty disgusting. So that's, I can tell you a lot of stories like that that led up to everything, but that's just one story. Everybody's got stories. And the one thing my sponsor told me when I first met with him is, do not keep this a secret. Do not keep any secrets. Secrets will kill you. So, tell everybody, you're in AA. Tell everybody that you're going through this program. So I did. With the employer, it might be tricky. I would
explain who you worked for.
I worked for Seagram, alcoholic beverage company. So I didn't tell them, and I was only with them a year before they sold. But I didn't tell them. Out of fear, probably, and that's another thing. Fear runs everybody, and you got to get rid of fear. If you're in fear, you're not in faith. So 99% of the things we think are going to happen never happen. So I don't live in fear anymore. Again, I take it one day at a time. We're not promised tomorrow. And I just do the best I can one day at a time. I just don't live in the future. I don't live in the past. I just live in the present.
That's a great way of putting it. And I know a lot of people could be watching this, maybe not trusting how happy we are, maybe thinking there's something else off camera that we're not talking about. But I want to just say this as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a husband. I have never found such contentment in my life, coupled with getting off all the substances, moving to a place that finally fits who I am. So, I can only speak these words so much, but I need people to understand the level of contentment that you get when you're clear-headed.
Oh, yeah.
Along with the power.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wanted to jump
I have a question for you.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about the standard. I see your sweatshirt, life above average. What is that?
Live above average.
Live above average.
So the standard, for me, the program came about out of my own personal needs. Moving out to a new location. I was already 5 years sober from alcohol, but I had a bad Adderall and Xanax problem. And I needed to deal with that, and I hit that head on. But after I had gotten the substances out of my body, I needed to realize what was making me cope. What were some of the triggers, some of the reasons that I was even reaching for any sort of substance. So over the last year and a half, I have shedded a new identity, or I've shedded an old identity to step into a new one. I believe I had an identity moving out here from California. Troy the businessman, Troy the brother, Troy the son. I'm all those things still, but the business side of it, the go, the always wanting to do more, achieve more. I needed to step into a new identity of being okay when things are calm. So over the last year and a half, between my identity, my discipline, my accountability with a mentor and coach that I hired, I was able to write out this program literally verbatim of what I went through. And my question to you, Dad, is have you seen a big change in me over this last year and a half?
Oh, tremendous change. You're very content. Quite frankly, you used to walk around the house, just walk around, and every time I'd come into the house, things were changed. Art's taken down, art's put up, things are moved. Be in the backyard, doing the whole backyard while we're sitting there, and you could not sit still. Now we know that was the Adderall, but now, we hang out, we smoke a cigar for an hour and a half, we talk for 2 hours, whatever it is. You're with your mother. You watch movies with us in bed. I mean, you're
Yep.
completely content. It's completely different. And also, you're not chasing the dollar anymore, which is, a good thing. You have to make a living, but
Sure.
you're not chasing it, and you're not in an industry now that's,
All about the money.
all about the money.
Yeah.
And most people in that industry are all about the money. And now you're in something that you're truly going to help people, and helping people is probably the best feeling you could get in life, is helping people.
Correct. And back to, why I came about with the standard program. I believe God put me on this earth to put me through everything that I've been through, to have the experiences, the knowledge, and now the tools, where I want other men that are watching to not just read something out of a textbook, but to be able to watch somebody who's been through it. And the more vulnerable and open that I can be with my audience, the more pinpoints and pain points that I'm going to touch. So again, I've stepped into something that I'm extremely passionate about. It speaks to everybody. That's what I also love about it. My first client that's on board with me right now, in just 45 days, he's completely transformed his life. So the standard came out of necessity for me. And I figured, hey, if it worked for me, I better share it with the world. And I believe a big part of the standard also with the men's coaching is there aren't too many outlets in this life for men to be vulnerable. I feel like a lot of men hide certain things from themselves, from their wives. Maybe they go to traditional counseling. But my belief, and I've seen it work on several other platforms, is if you get a group of men together that can get on a Zoom call or even in person and be vulnerable about themselves, their feelings, their relationships, maybe substance abuse problems. Again, it allows other men to realize they're not alone. And that's one of my biggest motivators in this, is to just keep the reach going wider and wider and wider. Helping out my town here of Georgetown, my philosophy behind that is the more dads that I can help down this path, the better off my kids are going to be, because my kids interact with their kids. So if there's a kid out there that's troubled at home because his father's drinking too much, well, if I can help that father and release some of that tension out of their home, I've helped the dad, I've helped the kid, and I probably have helped my kids as well, because they're all in the same environment too.
Right, and you've helped his family.
And I've helped his family.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to do good things. It's one client at a time, and it'll flourish. Believe me, there's nothing like that out there. But, there's a mentorship, but I think you cover a lot of areas that men really need to hear about.
Within the standard, it's not just substances. It's relationships, it's marriage, it's business, it's finances, it's politics. It's with a world that is so loud right now, I want to make sure I cover just about everything that could be going through a man's mind. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, when I put together the standard program, I had pillars written out. But what I've seen working with a few people is I can't just come out with a cookie cutter program and say this is going to work for everybody.
Right.
So that's why it's very important in the beginning of my conversation with people that call me. I spend 15 minutes with them. I ask them, how can I help you? Instead of trying to guess or trying to throw a program at them that I think is going to stick, it's important for me to understand where they're at in this life. My first client, Chris, he came to me. It's his first time ever leaving corporate America. Yeah, he wanted to stop drinking. He wanted to stop smoking pot, both of which he did. But his biggest hurdle was, how do I get over, I guess you can call it the scarcity mindset, the fear of, if I quit my job, what do I fall back on? He has now successfully started his own, it's called escapecorporate.com, or escapecorporatenow.com. So again, if I would have thrown just a cookie cutter blueprint at him, I would have missed that need that he needed right now, which was the business side of things. Mm-hmm. So I walked him through certain things, and I'm obviously still coaching him today, but that's another part of the program that guys need to be comfortable with and understand is there's nothing that can be said within our circle that probably hasn't been said or heard before.
So where can people find your podcast or your Instagram? Or
Troy Lair Coaching.
Oh.
Have a website coming out, troylaircoaching.com. This is our first podcast here, but we've been putting out content daily. I hope to have a lot more podcast guests on here. So, and then my YouTube channel as well, where I'll be putting out more long form content.
Great. Well, I look at it every day.
I love that.
I get inspired by you.
Rick, you mentioned mindset in the beginning. I want to kind of dial this back, because what I always like to look at in this is viewers, right? People that are in the thick of it right now watching this, okay? So when you talked about everything in alcoholism is a mindset, would you guys, both of you, and because I want to hear from both of you, would you walk me back to when you were in the thick of your alcoholism, the deepest part of it? what was the mindset that got you to that point, right? Like, what was the disconnect, or what was the uncomfortableness that you were either numbing, or that, you follow what I'm saying? So what was it that you got? What was the mindset that said, I got to keep doing this, I got to keep doing this, and then transition that into the mindset to where you finally woke up and realized, this has got to change. This has to stop.
Well, hold on. It didn't happen like that.
Well, I can answer. I can go. He means like, so when
You, Troy, do it, and then
you want me to answer it?
yeah.
Sure. So honestly, there's probably some questions that I have not answered yet, because when you are caught up in that cycle of drinking, 50% of you doesn't know why. The other 50%, I've realized why I have been. And I've been saying this a lot lately, is I don't necessarily think people have a drug or alcohol problem. I think they have a coping problem. So what I had to realize is, what was making me drink? Why did I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and drink vodka? There was something going on in my life that I was uncomfortable with, that I wasn't ready to face. I still don't have all the answers for that, but I think, again, back to the identity part of it, I'm the oldest in our family. I was out chasing, making money at 17, 18 years old. You start putting yourself on a pedestal. Maybe others aren't, but you are in your mind mentally. So I think that constant pressure of needing to excel more, needing to make more, needing to build more, needing to move into a bigger house, buy bigger things, I think that pressure got to me. I really do. And I think that, or I know, again, back to May 22nd of 2017, May 21st was my last day drinking. I woke up in the morning, 6 a.m., started drinking vodka. Mitra had left the house. And I want to share the story, because this is truly how it happened to me, and what the saving grace was. Mitra leaves the house that day to go to Disneyland with Mason and her sister. First time I've had the house to myself in 6 months on a Sunday. I start drinking. I was the type of drinker at that point where I didn't leave the house. I drank on the couch, I passed out, drank, passed out. Well, Mitra comes home that night with Mason and her sister, and I notice that he has a sunburn on his face. And I get frustrated, and there's a half bottle of water next to the bed, plastic bottle. I pick it up and I throw it up against the wall, and then I pass out. To Mitra's defense, she had never seen any anger or frustration out of me like that. So that scared her. The next morning, when I wake up, I'm next to Mason by myself. I have zero recollection of Mitra taking my car that morning, taking her sister to the airport. She took my brand new BMW 7 Series. And on the way to the airport, on the 405 freeway, that car gives out. Zero power to it. She is stuck in the 405. And she calls me and she says, listen, I'm stuck on the 405 freeway. I need you to come get me. And this goes back to the AA saying, I felt like a man with no arms and no legs. I'm hungover. I'm probably still buzzed. I have my 6-month-old next to me. And Mitra said this verbatim to me. She said, listen, between last night, you throwing that water bottle, and this morning with your car giving out, it has completely scared the shit out of me. I need you to make a change. And she said something that I'll never forget. She said, I married you because when you decide to do something, you do it. I don't want to hear you need to go to AA. Just make a change. I don't even think she really even said you need to stop drinking. Just make a change. I remember looking over at Mason thinking to myself, I do need to make I need to make a change. I need to do better. And got up that morning, washed my face off, looked at myself, and I said, I'm taking this one day at a time. So back to that question, Matt, of, what led me up to the point of wanting to make that change. It was pressure from my wife. Pressure and my own internal pressure. I would say for the last 6 months of me drinking, I knew I should not have been drinking the way I was drinking. 100%. I didn't justify it, but I also wasn't really accountable to anybody. I was making the money. I was handling the bills. I thought I was doing what I should be doing as a husband. Nobody's going to tell me what not to do. But again, thank God on May 22nd, I made that decision. I made that choice. I tell people this. I drew a hard line in the cement, not in the sand, because that line in the cement's not going to move. And I just said, I'm going to take it one day at a time, and I haven't picked up alcohol since. So for you, Dad, do you know why you were drinking? Were there certain things maybe from your past, from childhood, from current situations?
So I had no childhood trauma. I know a lot of people go through trauma. I had no trauma in my life. I worked for a Seagram beverage company, and I always had alcohol since 16. So I drank because I liked the taste of it. I like the taste of wine, champagne, vodka. I drank because I liked the effect it produced. That's why people drink. They like the effect it produces.
Sure.
Not everybody drinks because they have problems, right? I had a beautiful wife. I had kids. I had a job. I had a house. I had it all, and I didn't have any problems. Even my wife didn't bother me all that much, until the end. So my final decision to stop drinking was, I don't want to lose my family. That's it. And the second reason was, it was unhealthy. My skin, my hair, the way I felt, I was unhealthy. So those are the two main reasons why I stopped drinking. Plus, performance in work. It got to the point where I couldn't perform that well at work anymore. So a few things. I didn't get a DUI. I didn't get into an accident, anything like that. But those were the things that really stopped me from drinking.
Now, when you say you started not being able to perform at work, looking back on it, what was the time frame, or did it feel like this, that you were able to perform at work, have a couple wine coolers, get through the day, jump to the day that you couldn't get through work? Was that a year process? Or did it happen quick? What I want to do.
No, it went. Mine was so this is a progressive disease. So mine progressed from the age 16 all the way to age 42. And it progressed, and it progressed, and it progressed, and it progressed. And, I went from drinking fancy martinis to drinking vodka on the rocks, to drinking warm vodka in a glass, to drinking vodka out of a bottle, throwing away the cap. So, you see, it's a progression.
Yep.
And,
It's a slippery slope.
That's what happens. And, when it gets to that point, there's nothing about taste. It's just about the effect it produces. And I was happy coming home to my wife and my kids. I went to all their games, involved in everything. So it wasn't about being unhappy with my situation. I'm an alcoholic. That's what we do. We drink. Boom.
Was there anything in your life that you were unhappy about within yourself?
Probably like I didn't get promoted. I wasn't maybe working out as much as I wanted to. Maybe the way I looked, wasn't happy. I don't know. It's so long ago.
Yeah, no, and the reason why I bring that up is to the viewers is, it is a good trait to have, to notice certain things that you're feeling, and to let those things come to the surface and not try to bury them. And it goes back to the vulnerability part. And I believe, and especially for myself, the biggest growth that I've had in my life is when I've been able to say, fuck it, I've made mistakes. I know where I want to go, and I need to lay out, I need to get out of me what's been holding me back from getting there. So I had to figure out what were some things I didn't like about myself, whether it was appearance, whether it was work, making money, what have you. So that was a big part, and it's a big part of the standard too, is this is not surface level stuff. It's stuff that we need to dive in and, again, understand what is making you drink. What is making you take that pill? I don't think it's so easily chopped up as you're taking that because you're an alcoholic. I think it goes deeper. And we live in a day and age right now where people are getting used to going deeper, correct?
Yeah. And that's, in AA, that's what the fourth step does. It makes you go deep, and it really tells you why you drank. Because alcoholics are control freaks. People, places, and things, make us mad. We're resentful, we're angry, we're jealous, we're envious. All those are bad character defects. We have a lot of character defects. So we get to write them all out, see them, own them, and then work on them one day at a time. You work on them, and prayer was also big. You pray about specific, God, save me from being angry today. And it works, I don't get angry a lot anymore. I don't get jealous. I don't get envious. Those are all bad character defects, and those are the things that make you drink. Your character defects will make you drink.
And writing them out and seeing them and understanding them is a big relief for somebody, correct?
Yeah, and writing them out by hand is the best. Not with a computer, not with a keyboard, but there's some power with the pen, the power of the pen to paper. There's a lot of power there, and writing them out. I still have my notebooks with stuff in it, and you know, and then the amends process is huge. Also, we've pissed off a lot of people in life. We've harmed a lot of people in life, and to go back to those people and make amends and not say I'm sorry, and sorry means nothing. How many times have you said I'm sorry to your wife? A million times. But if you don't amend your behavior, it doesn't change. So you make amends to these people, and then it clears your mind of that, and they're not renting space in your head anymore. So that's another big process. So the fourth step and the ninth step, making amends, those are big things. Now you can work all that out with the therapist also, but those are huge.
Absolutely. What would you say to the guy that's watching this right now who believes he is fucked up beyond repair in his mind? Based off of the 26 years of you going to these meetings and probably seeing the worst of the worst to the best of the best. I don't want people to have it in their minds that A, they should be nervous, shy, timid, or scared to speak about their experiences, speak about what they've done.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a guy that's sitting there thinking, I have fucked up, but I'm not ready to say it or admit it?
Well, they need to talk to somebody. So, they can talk to you, they can talk to me, but they need to talk to somebody. They can go find a meeting and sit through a meeting and see if they relate to anybody that's talking, and then go talk to them. You can talk to your priest, you can talk to your rabbi, whatever, but you need to talk to somebody. You just can't hold it all in and keep it to yourself.
Again, another big reason why I started the Standard program. It's giving men the space to speak, to be vulnerable, for everybody to understand each other. So what you just said makes perfect sense. I want to jump into you, Pops. For me, a big part of keeping alcohol out of my life, keeping Adderall and Xanax out of my life, is if I'm going to be the role model for my kids, if I'm going to be telling them that drinking is bad, Adderall is bad, Xanax, I obviously can't be doing it. Correct?
Correct. Of course.
So I guess I have a bone to pick with the dads out there that still think it is okay for their kids to watch them and for them to understand that dad drinks when he wants to have fun. Dad drinks when he wants to relax. Dad drinks because he had a stressful day. I think that is fucking up kids' heads in a big way. And we're not really giving them the ability to make their own decisions as they get older. I feel like if a kid sees that, hears that, understands that from an early age, his chances of picking up alcohol much earlier than 21 is going to be a much higher rate than somebody like me from the beginning, who, again, if you're watching this video, I don't judge anybody for drinking. I don't judge anybody for what they do. To each their own. But for me, speaking about being a role model, setting the standard for my kids, you agree it's so important to walk that walk, not just talk it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can have a dad that's not an alcoholic, and he's a man. He's a grown man, and he's got a family. And if he wants to drink beer or drink whatever he drinks around his kids, he has every right to do that, as long as he's not an alcoholic and he takes it to another level. But let's face it. Alcohol is legal. Alcohol is accepted widely now. Marijuana is accepted widely. That's the world we live in. So you're not going to tell a man you can't drink when you want to drink unless he has a problem. Then you can tell him or suggest he doesn't drink. But that's a slippery slope to go down. Telling a man he shouldn't drink around his kids. That's really none of our business what he does. It's maybe our business if he does it in excess, but it's none of our business what they do with their own families. So,
well, speaking of excess, you have the dad that, like you said, he's a man, he works, he provides for his family, he's a father, he's a husband, what have you. Do you know anybody that can just keep it to one or two drinks, or is it very common for that fourth, fifth, or sixth drink to occur, whether it's once a week, once a month? But I want to talk about that slippery slope, because I hear a lot of men and women say, well, I have a glass of wine a night. I only have a few. Does that few ever turn into too many?
Well, of course it does. But there's plenty of people that can have one drink and stop, two drinks and stop. Your mother's the same. She has one drink and stops. And she might have one drink every 3 months. So there are normal, that's a normal person.
Okay.
That's a normal drinker. And there's plenty of them out there. So.
Makes sense. Again, if you're watching this, I don't judge. My dad doesn't judge. People out there that are in our positions, we don't judge. I just want really what's best for each individual person. And I know what I have found, and I'm ready to share it with the world when people are ready. But another question for you, Pops, is what did getting sober actually give you that you didn't understand you were losing at the time? I think I can probably answer this with the power and the control. But what did getting sober actually give you that you didn't understand you were losing prior to getting sober?
Oh, well, I mean, I was losing control over everything, over my family, over my thoughts, over my job. I'm losing control. So I thought I was controlling, but I was losing control. And then not drinking gave me the control back. Not to control people, not to control things, but to control myself. So.
Which, if you can master controlling yourself, you can really live in any environment, live with anybody, be around anybody, correct?
Right.
I mean, it makes it so much easier. It makes it so much more fluid to go through this life. Again, knowing and understanding that you're not going to control other people. As much as we want to try to control what our wives say, what our kids say, what other people say, that's out of our control.
No, you can't control people, places, or things.
People, places, or things. I love that answer. I want to segment out of the drinking for a second. I want to talk about identity, because you have worked a few different careers since I've been born, starting off with Seagram's and then transitioning to owning your own business in Malibu, the cigar lounge. Do you believe that you had to sort of change your identity from who you were at Seagram's to owning a successful cigar lounge in Malibu?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, after Seagram's, I went through a couple of energy drink companies, startups. Then I went back to the corporate world. Then I started the cigar lounge with you, and sure, I went from short hair, shirt and tie, suits, shoes, to having a place at the beach, dressing the way I want to dress, driving what I want to drive, saying what I want to say, and my identity changed a little bit.
And remind me, how old were you when we bought the shop?
14 years ago. What's 68 minus 14?
Yeah. How old?
54.
54.
Okay, so this is, I'm glad I just asked that. So at 54 years old, because a lot of people think they hit 50, at 55 years old, or 54 years old, you had an identity change. And you morphed into, now you are somebody that I believe is the best version of yourself. So for the people out there that are in their 50s, late 40s, it's safe to say that at any point in your life, if God or the universe, whichever one you believe in, is calling you to switch into a new identity, for you to truly become who you want to be, provide the world with the service that you provide right now, it's okay.
Oh, yeah. It's more than okay. And, I was stuck in a rut with Seagram's for 25 years, and, I was stuck in a rut, and I look at these guys that retire, and they're fat, and they're bald, and they're old, and they're unhealthy. I said, I don't want to be that. I want to be healthy. I want to look better. I want to feel better. And, at 54 years old, I felt like I was 34 years old when I opened that lounge up.
Yep.
And if you see pictures of me, you'll see me, change drastically.
Progressing in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
In a very good way. Yeah, again, back to the identity. I think I'm blessed to have faced an identity, I don't want to call it a crisis, but an identity shift so early in my life.
A lot before me. Yeah.
At 39 years old, finally understanding who I am and being okay with letting that old version of me go, it has now given me power, control, hope. I don't live in fear, like you said earlier. I don't think about tomorrow. I don't think about yesterday. I live in the complete present. And to me, that's the best way to live.
Right.
It really is. What else? Any other?
I have no questions.
Hold on one sec. Okay. I have one last one here about drinking. As a father look back at now, what do you know sobriety protected or changed from your family that I probably didn't see as a kid? As a father looking back now, what do you know sobriety protected or changed for our family that I probably didn't see as a kid?
That you didn't see as a kid?
Correct. And I can probably answer that for you.
Okay, go ahead.
You, like I said in the very beginning of this, you set the standard and you laid out the path of it's okay if you have a substance or a drinking problem. Here's what I did and here's how I got out of it. As a kid, hearing that my dad has to go to AA, you don't really know what that means. And in your mind, my dad has a problem. But now that I see the entire scope of it, you have changed the trajectory of our family. You have now brought in the term sobriety, a more clear life. So again, as a kid, I didn't see that, but now I see it even more, having kids and gone through sobriety myself.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing what I learned is you don't want to push the program or AA or your sobriety onto other people. You may suggest a couple times, but you got to let people go through their own paths and trust in God that they'll be okay and it'll all work out. And thank God it worked out for you.
There were many times that everybody said I had a problem, I needed a change, but again, it wasn't until I found it within myself to make that change that it would have been made. Yeah, so again, if you're watching this, I'm not here to preach at you. I'm not here to tell you need to stop today. I'm just providing you real life experiences of what we've gone through as men and what we have today. And I think that it's invaluable information. Tony Robbins had a good quote the other day. He said, our society, especially the internet, is not lacking information. It's lacking knowledge. It's lacking two guys like you and I that have been through very similar paths, coming together and being vulnerable and open and talking about it.
Yep.
And I believe the more that people can watch real stuff like this, the more it's going to resonate with them. The easier it's going to be for them to raise their hand and say, yeah, I might have a problem, or I have something I need to get out of my life. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to work. Where before, I think, AA, I don't want to say it's taboo, but people are looking at it like, oh, your dad, he must have a problem. And I don't like using that word problem. I like to just say it's something that needs to be removed out of my life, because a problem has a negative connotation.
That's a good way to look at it.
You know what I mean? It needs to be removed out of your life. So, yeah, Dad, all this is gold. And again, I appreciate everything. And I don't think I would be where I am today without the foundation that you've laid, especially for Mitra, my wife, when it was, I guess, kind of dawning on her that I had a drinking problem. To her defense, she didn't grow up with any alcoholics. That term sober has never crossed her family. So she didn't know.
Right.
And my last thing I want to touch on is there's a lot of women out there right now, men and women, where their spouses have a problem. Their spouses are dealing with stuff right now that they need help with. You said in the very beginning, you cannot hide anything from anybody. For me personally, I have shared every single part of my journey with Mitra. And it sounds like you've shared every part of your journey with Mom. What does that give a man who's at day 1 or day 30 that he's completely vulnerable, he's opened up, he has nothing else to hide? What do you think it gives that person? Motivation, fuel, determination? What would be the word to describe coming out of the closet and saying, this is who I am, this is what I've done, but here's where I want to
go? Truth is complete freedom. That's what it is. And as soon as you've lifted that off your chest and you've admitted the wrongdoing to someone and what you've done, it's just a whole new feeling. So
I completely agree. Because again, for me, stepping into this new identity of who I am today, I had to be okay with everything that I've done in the past. I couldn't hide it anymore. I couldn't try to bury it. I couldn't try to look over it. I had to hit it head on in order for me to step into who I am today.
Right.
So that makes total sense. Again, if you're watching this episode, this is episode 1 of The Standard. Again, I'm here with my father, Rick. Please like, subscribe, comment on my content so it can get more within your feed and give us some, I guess, clout for moving forward. More audience, more viewers, the better. So I appreciate you tuning in, Pops.
Good luck. I love you.
I love you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hold on it for a minute. We're good.
How long did we go?
45 minutes.
Oh, shit.